parking lot, ain't it?
Yes.
Do I need to write pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Collins.
Here.
Baloo.
Here.
Canton. Stan.
Here.
Amstutz.
Here.
Buxton. Here. Everyone received the meeting minutes from the meeting on May 19th. Any amendments? Hearing none, minutes stand as approved. Takes us to public speaks. Sue.
Yes, sir. I have two directives tonight, unrelated to each other, but both related to council. I watched the last meeting remotely, and right at the end of the meeting, when you went to anything else, Councilman Contos brought up, if I understood correctly, because the volume was very low, possible time for a raise for council members, and then it cut off.
Yeah, the meeting ended. No actions were taken on that. I think that we had a malfunction with the camera, I believe at that point, but no actions were taken on that subject.
Do council members automatically get a raise?
No.
No?
So if they vote for a raise, they're not eligible for that raise until they're reelected.
Okay, so they vote for themselves to get a raise.
Yeah, but then the public has the right to voice their opinion on that based on elections.
And how do you determine how much that raise is?
You try to look at what other neighboring municipalities that are the same size. You try to benchmark on that, and you try to make it as fair as possible. As far as I know, I don't think any action's been taken
There
on
was
the matter.
no discussion, nobody made any recommendations or anything.
Right.
I don't find anything wrong with it. I just didn't know what happened afterward.
Yeah.
Are all council members paid the same? Is it a flat rate for everybody?
That is correct. It's $125 per meeting.
$125?
Per meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually it's out to $250 a month.
It's per council meeting,
Yeah.
so there's work sessions, there's other meetings that aren't included, so those aren't paid or anything else we do outside of the meetings isn't paid.
Okay. I just didn't know what happened with that.
Yeah.
My second question is, I have noticed a heavy presence of Stark County deputies in East Canton recently. Are they helping out the police force for some reason? Are they running radar? Are they watching over? I just never noticed that before. In the last 2 weeks, I've seen them twice.
I mean, we're working with them, they're working with us. We're just, again, interagencies, we share territory, so nothing specific, but we are working together. Obviously, we're trying to rebuild relationships that have been kind of destroyed in the past.
Do Stark County deputies have jurisdiction to stop anybody in the county for any reason?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so they're just kind of hanging out and
Yep.
helping, and is that because when they're here, our officers are busy either in court or
Not
something?
necessarily. I mean,
No?
they'll back us up, right? Because we, right now, we have one officer working per shift sometimes, not counting me being there.
Mhm.
We may have officers at court, right? I may not have an officer available, right? So, they definitely would help out with that, but they're assisting us, just like we assist them on calls or highway patrol. We kind of work interagency with each other.
Both times have been during the day. So do you call them and say, I'm short an officer today, or they just show up?
Yep, they can they can hear our radio traffic. They can operate as a police officer, if they see an infraction, they can do anything in the county anywhere. So.
Are they paid by the village of East Canton?
No.
Or they're not?
No.
They don't get any extra pay from us?
No.
For being on patrol in our village?
No, they're not on patrol, like they may be doing a directive, right? They may be, obviously school resource officers, a sheriff's deputy. So you're going to see that. If they're coming through the village serving civil paperwork, they may be serving civil paperwork in the village. They may be serving a warrant for somebody that they want who lives here in the village. And usually they'll call us for an assist and we'll assist them. But there's, any number of reasons why they may be here. So,
But they have every right to stop a speeder and issue a speeding ticket?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Just
All
like
right.
the state patrol could as well in some of the routes.
The
Okay.
township has contract with sheriff's department to patrol the township.
Correct, but this was inside the village both times.
Yeah, well, we're still part of the township, whether they like it or not. the township doesn't like us.
Anything else?
No, that's a pretty strong statement. The township doesn't get along with the village, is that true?
We try to get along with them,
I
they,
don't think that's true.
they
We
really.
work with them on many topics, so.
All right, thank you.
Steph Yost.
No.
Lisa Nimitz.
No.
Andrea Schmuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have some major concerns regarding the parade, Memorial Day parade, safety concerns. I want to know why Route 72 traffic was left open. I sat on 44 in Noble, and I noticed when the parade came back up Noble, that light, 44 and 172, wide open. Traffic coming down 172, heading straight towards the parade route. People lined up, watching the parade, and all I could think of is, God forbid, a car that's oblivious to this parade going on hits one of these kids, a bystander, anyone. My 6-year-old was in the parade for his baseball team, and all I could think of is my baby is on that wagon over there. And my God, what happened? Why this did not happen last year? Where's the barricades? Where's the officers? I saw a patrol car near where I was watching the parade on 44 facing south. 2 officers. I believe it's you guys.
Yes.
And I know I spoke to you, and I thought, oh my God, he's not aware that this intersection's wide open. I need to bring it to his attention. And I rushed over and I said, please, could somebody go close down this intersection? There's cars coming. There's a lot of people out here. What's going on? He informed me that Route 30 is closed down, so it's okay. The perimeter around here is closed, and if there's traffic on 172, it's local traffic.
Which is true.
Which is true, but 172 is a pretty major highway.
So 172 was shut down. 172 was shut down at Broadway and was shut down at Nassau. There was no incoming traffic coming in. The whole
There
town was
was
shut down.
172 coming from that direction, heading towards
172 was closed
wide
down
open.
at
My
Broadway.
husband was driving the tractor. I spoke to him afterwards. He said, you know how bad it was? He said when he got to the light down here, 44, 172, so the light turned green, cars went in front of him. He said he slammed on the brakes, wagon on the back, full of parade kids. And I
So-
want this safer for next year.
Again.
There is no excuse. An officer should have been there. Where's the barricades? Nothing.
So
And
there-
I
there
witnessed
were
it with my
officers-
own eyes. 172 heading west, open.
So there were officers. There were officers. I mean, I'm telling you, it was closed down at Midday. It was closed down at Broadway. It was closed down at 44. It was closed down at 30.
But 172,
Traffic was
44 was
diverted.
not
So
closed.
there was an officer in town.
And then
You're
I
right.
said to him, I said, I hate to see somebody get hurt.
So-
You know what his professional response was? Yeah, I'd hate to see that too.
I would too. The parade was crossing and I was on the other side of it, right? So,
Yes, 2 officers in the same car.
so here's the thing.
Could have
And
easily
there was,
gotten out in the intersection.
okay, well, can I please speak? Okay, so here's the thing, right? Traffic was diverted around town. There was local traffic. That local traffic was
Local
stopped.
traffic, somebody works midnights new to town, oblivious to the parade going on, whatever the reason, could still plow into a crowd full of anybody.
And it could happen.
Where
And
was the barricades? Where's the officers with the lights on? Years past, this did not happen. And I love this town. This parade is a really nice thing. I take all my 3 kids to every year.
Yeah.
And I want it to continue.
Yeah.
God forbid something happen and then we don't have it anymore. I hate to see that happen.
Absolutely. And
And,
your concerns are valid. I'm not.
and
trying
I'm
to
not
dis-
trying to argue with anyone,
Right.
but what I witnessed was not safe at all. And all, I mean, I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but all I could think of is my little kid on that wagon
Mhm.
having the time of his life, assuming, anyone in the parade, assuming that they're safe.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have happened.
And we have had a follow-up, the chief and I and the village administrator, we had
We'll have barricades
Yeah.
up next year.
we've already talked
Thank
about
you.
it.
In the years
No
past,
problem.
I spoke to a lot of parents afterwards that were in the parade, and they're like, it's a small town. Or it's like, what happened this year? Where were the barricades at?
If we don't have them, we'll buy them.
We have
No
the barricades. The problem that we have is staffing, right? So I like the idea of us diverting traffic outside the village before it gets here. I think that should stay. But we need to combine that with barricades inside the village.
Yes.
I
Barricades on the side roads, and maybe instead of closing it clear down at midday, have an officer right at the major intersections. I mean, it wouldn't take much, 30, 172, 44, major intersections.
So
You know.
I don't disagree with you, right? The thing of it is I have a limited number of officers to
You
work.
are correct, but when I see two officers sitting in one area and another area left wide open,
Right.
why did that happen?
Because we were blocking off traffic as the parade came through the intersection. Once we blocked off that intersection, we came back around. So, and we had to be available to take calls, right? Because I just can't have all my officers blocking off traffic and have a call come in and not be able to answer that call.
Sir, you're correct, but when I was two officers in one car, and I mean, one of you could have jumped out and walked 100 feet away and at least stood in the intersection. Civilians shouldn't have been blocking it.
Here's the thing, traffic was already stopped. And there was
Traffic
nobody.
was not stopped.
There was a white truck there.
That came through, but do you know how many cars turned around? And that was just a
I'm not saying that
civilian
you're wrong, and
who
I'm not.
probably thought, oh shit, there's a parade going on. I'm gonna sit here a minute.
And
Do you know
I-
how
and
many turned on the Church of God prior to
And
that?
I understand that, right? But what I'm saying is this, right? All of the safety forces next year need to work together, right? I think the biggest problem is that, you know, I've got a limited amount of officers and I've got to get the most bang out of my buck, right? I've got 5 officers,
Yeah.
right? That I can utilize. And that's not going to do a whole heck of a lot.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I mean, I know
So-
you're new here, and I'm sure this is your first time coming to the parade.
Well,
And I mean, absolutely no disrespect,
No,
but
no.
I fully expected, and I am not that person. I've never came to a meeting before. I've never gone up and caused a scene, talked to an officer before, but I fully expected you to say something along the lines of, shit, I'm sorry, ma'am, I will go and we'll stop that now. For a civilian driving
So
through,
here's the
stop
thing,
there.
right? I'm not going to stop a car. If I get out of my car and stand there, that car's going to run me over too, right? A car, look, traffic was stopped, okay? And the
Traffic
issue
was
is
not
this.
stopped.
Traffic was. Did anybody plow through the parade?
We want that to happen?
No, we don't. But I'm not going to stop them. If I'm standing in front of it, they're just going to hit me too, right? We need a vehicle, which I don't have.
Okay.
So again, this is a staffing issue and we need to work together with the other safety services in town. But to put this all on the police department, I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's valid.
I think that any town around here, when they schedule a parade, the major intersections are closed
The
down.
major intersections were closed down.
They were just, traffic was diverted outside. I think the problem that we have is that there's people that were actually still in the village that were then getting in their vehicles and moving around. Maybe they're at stores, maybe they're doing whatever. I don't know. But we need to, like I said, combine the diverting of traffic outside the village with also barricades inside the village. We've spoken about it. It will happen next year. We're gonna look to see how we can get additional staffing in, whether it's through the fire department, whether it's through, the service department is already out there, but we will find ways to make sure it can't just be barricades, because we've seen in
It
the
can't
past.
just be nothing
Yeah,
like this
exactly,
year.
yeah.
And that's all my
Right.
point is.
And the
Thank
thing
you.
is, the barricades, that if we just put barricades out, they'll get out and move them. We've seen it. We need to have somebody standing there with it. So we just need to have a more comprehensive look at it. And we've already acknowledged that, there are things that can be better next year. And we'll make sure they are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a great parade.
Yeah.
My kids, I've been going past 5 years and the band comes through and, it's a nice thing for the community and, we enjoy it a lot and I just want to see it done safely as possible. I mean, everyone heard about that accident in Green,
Mhm.
god awful. And if it's something here we can prevent as much as we can, just, keep them safe. It's-
Absolutely.
We can do that.
All right,
We
thank
can
you.
do that.
Kimberly Erickson.
Yeah, so to kind of go off of what she was asking, the sheriff's department can patrol inside the village. Is the village allowed to patrol in the township?
No.
Like, call for mutual aid, or we have a concurrent jurisdiction area. Yes.
So I live on Oakfield Street, which is outside of the village limits, and about 3 or 4 times a day, there's officers patrolling up and down the road.
So it's not patrolling, but we are allowed to turn around going into a different jurisdiction, which is what is going on. Because we can go down to 44, that's the last road. So we obviously can come back around and turn around.
Well, there's been other complaints off the street, so just so you know that people are not happy. They think that the officers are patrolling the streets.
And that's valid, that's fine. I mean, you came and asked, and if they came and asked, that would be, my answer to them as well.
They're not answering calls out there, right? I mean,
No, not unless we're called for a
Right.
mutual assist.
Right. Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Erickson?
Nope.
Kevin O'Hare.
I'm going to thank Derek Contos for saying he'll get barricades up for next year, because that should be the end of the story. If you have a complaint from a citizen that thinks something's not safe, I'm sorry, are you the police chief?
Yes.
Okay. I would do whatever it takes to tell that citizen, yes, that's not gonna happen again. There's no problem with admitting there might be a mistake or two. So congratulations, Derek, for saying that.
Yes, thank you.
Also, this is a little bit off topic, but the East Canton Park sign blew down a couple of years ago, and they repositioned it facing west, which you don't see until you pass the park. But when anybody can actually reposition that facing south, so that every time there's a ball game or something from,
I've
out of
seen
towners
that,
coming in, they
yeah.
have to go past, turn
Like,
around in
somebody's
somebody's driveway.
turning around.
This might be a safety thing for you, chief.
Mhm.
And of course, they slam their brakes on and you got people coming up over the hill. They don't use blinkers because they're like, oh, there's the park. And then they back up, and I've seen so many near misses of, cars coming up over there. And especially the ones that are like late for the ball game or something.
Sure.
And so if they can get that repositioned, or at least if you want to do it the cheap way, maybe just put a small sign on the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign that's right there by the park with an arrow that says park, turn right.
That's the yellow sign you're referring to? Is that the yellow sign you're referring to? Yeah.
I think that one's at the bottom of the hill, the one that says park entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like all the way down at Noble,
The big
but there's nothing,
Oh.
yeah, there's nothing that, whenever you get up close to the park that says, turn right into the park.
You know what he's talking about, Henry?
Absolutely, I agree. So I was part of that when we redid that sign and repainted and everything. It looks
Yeah.
good, to your point, everything's good. But the reason we didn't turn it one way or the other is because of the double direction. So if we just kind of squared it up. I
Yeah,
like your idea of putting the sign with an arrow on it, maybe back on Plum, right there, Plum,
yeah, or
Plum
even
intersection
like, even right before the park entrance itself.
yeah, a little
That's
before. I want to get a little before that because to your point, if I put it right up there, it's gonna be the same thing.
Right.
They're gonna
Yeah,
come and
that's
slam on the brakes. So I would place it back towards Plum a little more. And I
Okay,
can do that, there's no problem with that. But the reason for facing that sign square was just because it would show nothing on the backside coming up over the hill from the other way. So
yeah,
we squared it up, but
okay.
it's a great point. I mean, it's a valid
Yeah.
point, so we'll get that yellow sign up there. It's not a problem.
Also, we have since they opened up, Orchard to go all the way to 44, we have, and I figure a lot of them are out of towners going to Louisville from Canton or whatever. And people think it's a highway coming up rurally. And I've spoken with a few different police officers and they said, well, we'll take that back. And I don't know if I got back to you or not, chief.
It did. We've actually, I don't know, you should have seen more officers out there.
Yeah.
We've been running
Like
a
they'll
little
sit
more
right
radar
at the park
enforcement
and
up there.
get them from time to time, but especially after school let out or something, there was like maybe all teenagers or disgruntled teachers, I don't know, but they would come flying down the road. It's like,
They do that right here. To beat the light, they'll fly down that way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll sit on my porch and they'll fly down that way.
Did I have anything else to say?
Ooh.
Yeah, your drains.
Oh, you guys probably already talked about this a bunch of time. I just hear neighbors talking about the speed cameras going up. And is that still in the works or is
Yeah.
that?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I saw on the website, the PDF file said, somebody said it has to be, you have to be 10 over the speed limit to get a ticket. And then the PDF thing is like, I don't know, 12 pages of legal jargon. But it says 1 to 30 over the speed limit is this fine, and then 31 to, I don't know, infinity is another fine.
Because some municipalities will enact it one above. We didn't do that. We set ours at 10 above.
Okay, so that's just a generic thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 10 or over, everybody drive 900 the speed limit. No? Okay. All right, that's enough for one session.
Kathy, anything today?
The only thing I'm concerned about is that every time I have an emergency call at my property at Hope, I've taken it up with the fire department also. They don't seem to know how to get a key to get in people's apartments, and they use crowbars to break the damn door down
Oh, my.
and tear the screens out of the windows. And they all have the code. I have given that code out, I don't know how many times.
What is it, like a lockbox code, you mean?
It's a non-vote.
The fire department has a lockbox and the police department has a lockbox on the side of the building that has a master key that gets in any apartment there. And nobody seems to know what that code is. And I have given it out, I don't know how many times. That's
So
my only.
we've added it to our dispatch. So,
I should hope so, because I'm tired of repairing screens and doors.
well,
You know,
yeah, I
And then the
believe
people
that.
complain because they get rent raised. Well, it's an expense
Sure.
to the people who own
Well,
the
and like
property.
I said, that's gonna take care of the police side of it, but the fire department, that's something.
And they're something else. I can't get them to return calls.
Really?
So that's my. I'm
That,
done.
that fire department right there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Alright. Martha Snyder.
Yes, I live at Hope Senior Village,
Yes, ma'am.
and I can see the radar sign there. We have young kids very close, and I have called several times. They park on the street. When you come down Orchard, if you have to go around these cars, there's a whole big pad of driveway, but they're not allowed to park on there. That kid, I sit, because I could see the thing from my porch. 37, it's a 25. And he's like a daily. They can make a lot of money there. And then you could hire some more policemen to put up for the parade.
To have all shifts.
That's a win-win, right?
I mean, they come through faithfully to check us senior citizens. I mean, they are regularly coming through there. But if they would just sit there for 5 minutes, they could get, the school bus is the worst. Let me tell
It's
you.
clocking it at 47 before they hit the sign.
Can you ride a school bus?
And they should have put the sign the other way,
Oh, I believe it.
the other way, because that's the problem.
Now that school's out, but, oh,
And
yeah.
there's just a tiny bit, my kid wouldn't ride the bus because there's a tiny little curve in that road. We watch them every day. We sit on the porch. You can see everything. Yeah, those cars, they're gone in the winter because I think they're in college. But they work on their cars out in the street.
Yeah.
They leave their garbage can out there. I have called many times about the garbage cans. These are old people using that road. There's 40 units there. And
I think they do that on purpose, leave those cars out there like that, because
he works on them out on the street.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a kid doing that.
Yeah, he drives 30 and he winds he doesn't even know how to shift because he winds it all the way on purpose.
So this would be my question to you. Would you have a problem with our officer sitting on your property to run
No.
radar?
They can come, I'll even give a
So I
copy.
have to get it from the apartment itself, but if you'll allow us to do that, because we can't do that without your permission. I can sit on the
They can
street, but
come
they're
on
gonna
my
see us
porch, I
sitting
pay my
there
rent.
and they're gonna slow down as soon as they see us.
I'm afraid, like the animals, you
Sure.
know, and they hit those animals, they don't care. They just keep going up and down. This kid must travel 5 times, 6 times a day.
No, I mean, if I have your permission, then yeah, we'll do that. We'll sit there.
I want the parking, I want no parking there.
I can't enforce it unless there's a law for it, right? So if there's an ordinance or a law, but I'm not aware of it.
I think a lot of people
think
block their own
there's-
driveway though.
You can't block it across from a driveway.
Well, the fire hydrant's there too,
Yeah, you
and
can't
they
block.
park right by the fire hydrant.
Okay, if they're parked in front of the fire, yeah, we can cite them for that.
Nobody done nothing yet.
Okay.
I've been there, this is my 3rd year.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I'll be more than happy to take a look at it and see what we can do.
Doesn't even want to talk.
Excuse me, Mayor, we talked about that Hope Village before, the buses speeding through there, and I suggested somebody go to the school board and talk to those bus drivers. Did that ever happen?
I reported it to the school.
Do you know what the number is on the bus?
No, there's 2.
There's 8.
One
Why
is,
are they
one
there's
is
two different
number,
buses?
one is bus 3, because it's
That's
the bus
stupid for
Jonah
them to be
rides.
going
Okay.
through.
She comes up and
You
around,
know that
comes
well,
downward,
Yeah,
Okay.
and drops
You know?
Jonah off.
I
So
can't
one is
believe
bus
that the
3.
superintendent didn't address that with the bus drivers.
I can't believe Mr. Dent didn't,
I'd like to
if
see
somebody
that.
didn't get a hold of him, because he's in charge of that.
well, every day, it's every day, 37.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mr.
And then
Dent, somebody needs-
when they see that
Yeah.
thing start, then they'll
that's
slow
what I'm
down.
saying.
Otherwise,
I
they
think the
just,
idea is eventually we're gonna get some more of them. Those signs are just crazy expensive, so as we've got it, that's why we started with 2. I think we're gonna add some more around.
I think it should have been the other way.
But I think the idea is just put a whole nother one facing the other way.
Mhm.
That
might be a good spot for a speed table.
And if they could sit on, there's a thing there, The first entrance there?
Yeah.
If they would sit there, they could catch them all day long.
We have.
What is the speeding
Just like
ticket fine?
So it depends on how fast they're going, so there's a certain amount, if they're under 20 over, if they're going 20 over, it gets elevated.
Well, I got my first speeding ticket in East Canton. And I was 50 years old.
So with the court costs and fines, the minimum one is around like, I think, 172, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think they would slow down a little bit. I'm worried about the buses.
Sure.
Are the kids going too
we'll,
far?
we'll have a meeting with the school prior to school starting back up to
Yeah,
discuss
we'll
bus
talk to
safety.
them.
I did call the school and told them, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, because this isn't the first time we've heard this, so we will have a follow-up with the school regarding bus safety.
Just to pass that light up.
All right, I think that concludes public speaks.
Can I say one more thing, Mr. Mayor? What's the status on midnight shift for police coverage? Do we have any at all, or is there?
We do. It's spotty, but we have it. So last week, I think I had all but one shift covered. So, we're getting there.
So when there's no coverage, is
So-
it Louisville or Canton?
So yeah, what it is, if there's no coverage, then dispatch always contacts me, and I'll come down, and then in the interim, I'll have them either send a deputy out or send Louisville, who's ever closest and available.
Okay. 'Cause the last couple times we called, I mean, like over the last 6 months, it was about 25 to 35 minutes to, get from somebody from Canton.
Sure.
And they were destroying stuff down in the park in Canton. Usually, like, if it's our guys, they'll come and talk to me,
Sure. And you can ask for that too. If you want someone to stop, just tell the dispatch that you'd
Yeah.
like them to talk to you
But this
afterwards.
Canton cop wasn't, I was sitting there like waving as he's coming up, and he's like, see ya.
Sure.
He's gone.
Yeah, typically, like,
Pretty much like they are.
Yeah.
typically I try to use, like I said, I try to use the sheriff's office or Louisville, who's ever
Okay.
closest and available. So dispatch will usually tell me even before they call me what's going on.
Is there anything we could do to, I mean, if there was an emergency, 25 minutes is,
So yeah, no, I mean, if there's an emergency, obviously they're going to be responding an emergency response. So, the response time should be no more than 8 minutes, 7 to 8 minutes,
supposed to be
so.
that way.
And basically we're getting to the point now where, again, I've got another gentleman that's, up for consideration for hire. So, I mean, we're hiring and trying to do it. The problem is like every other industry has right now, you've got people that are going to be working part-time for us. They've got another job. So they're maybe only picking up 1 day a week, right? So,
Is there more incentive for somebody to work midnight shift?
not right now. There's not. That's
I mean,
something
that-
I would like to explore, because every place I've ever worked, there's always been that
Yeah.
differential, right? So that's something that I definitely am kind of looking into, but yeah, as of right now, there's not. So
Yeah, to me, that's the most important.
Sure.
shift, as far as
Right.
crime and stuff.
honestly, our busiest shift is afternoons. Midnights is not, I worked midnights for 13 years, and honestly, when I worked afternoon shift, that is the
Yeah.
per call volume is the busiest shift. So,
Right.
Yes.
but again, it's like you got the bleed over from seconds that goes into the first part of midnight shift, right? So,
Yeah.
again, every shift has its pluses and minuses, and I think just getting full staffing is, right now that's my main goal. So,
But my only question is, if we have multiple people on the shift at a time, why are we not shifting people to cover?
so we don't, right? Right now, I am working 12, 13, 14-hour days, and I'm covering a gap between first and second so that there's a second officer, but I've got one officer working first shift, I've got one officer working second shift, and then I have a series of officers working midnight shifts.
Because
So-
what I'm afraid of is there are people that are noticing that there's
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
here.
I don't disagree.
I don't sleep. I
Yep,
am up till
that's what
4
I was
o'clock in the
thinking,
morning.
Yep.
And I can tell you that I don't see people.
No, I don't disagree with you, and honestly, that's my priority right now, and that's what I've been working on. Like I said, again, been hiring steady, and, that's, hopefully we're gonna have this issue
I mean,
resolved here.
school's out, you're gonna have kids out, you're
Sure.
gonna have people coming from Canton that come down to the park. We've had
Oh, yeah.
issues down there.
I
We don't get nights
agree.
covered. People are noticing that there's nobody here.
No, I agree. So,
We have one of our full-time officers returning next week. We've been missing that officer for about 3 or 4 weeks now. So that's why we've had trying to fill that shift with part-time officers. Starting next week, the full-time officer will be doing the midnight shift. So there'll be a lot more stability on that shift.
I have one more.
Yeah.
It doesn't pertain to council. There's a Hope meeting Thursday night at 7:00 at the community clubhouse, and I'd appreciate if somebody from council would show up. We need some help. We need to discuss things with the remaining property over there.
What time was that?
7:00 in the clubhouse.
All right. That concludes public speaks, unless there's something else. All right, takes us to committee reports, service.
We'll start out with parks. Kurt, I put this on there. We had some vandalism at the park. I told you guys about the toilets. We had 2 busted already this year. Went in, it would have been towards the middle of last week and towards the end of last week. And we had some lights busted out in the building boys restroom, like completely shattered out, bulbs, fixture, everything. So I called Dave and let him know that I'm gonna shut that down and leave it shut down till Monday to repair. Well, I didn't get a chance to go to the repair. But we need to make sure that we're making everybody aware, everybody here too, just make sure we're watching our kids, watching over other people's kids. Like, they're destroying it. We're gonna have to keep it shut, because it's costing us a lot of money and time to keep that restroom up to snuff when you start busting toilets and sinks and lights and all that stuff. So just kind of like a public notice to kind of like keep a little bit of community eye out on other people's, even on other people's kids. We don't need that. Okay, on the roads, we repaired 1 catch basin on Liberty. The kids' signs have been taken down, the banners for the school. American flags will be going up real soon. We got to use our skid steer with a cage on it to get up there, so it takes some time to do that too, and some manpower. Pull at the intersection of Wooden Church, roughly 4 by 4 by 3 foot deep. We had that repaired, the construction did that. Both pumps are up and running. We replaced the control valve in the pump house. It's been down for about 2 years now. We finally got to it, got that done, which helps because the ground tanks have been placed to absorb the water, because the tower we get worked on, we don't have tower water. So we have some ground tanks strategically placed around town. So all that's up and running. So far, so good. Collected 2 roadkills and under zoning. We had a lot of zoning going on all summer with the grass and the property upkeeps. People have been pretty good about it. When I knock on the door and tell them it's done, they usually get it done. I don't have to hang notices or anything. And our businesses that we've had some trouble with have been very responsive. They're doing their due diligence to get things done. They're in the process of cleaning everything up, and I can see a difference in them. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Any questions for council? There you go.
Henry,
Yes, sir.
are the bathrooms lit up on the outside?
No, just the street light that's there during the night. But the chief and his crew have been doing a good job of shutting the gate and locking the restrooms up at night.
Do we get cameras, Henry?
Yes, we do. We do have cameras, but it's hard to justify somebody going into a restroom. So let's say you ladies here all walk into the restroom. You come out, who do I know did the damage to the restroom? I can't have cameras in the bathroom, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or if you walk in like 5 different times, I can't, it's hard to justify, unless you walk in with a sledgehammer in your hand now, but no kid's gonna do that, so.
Right. Well, I knew there was cameras
Yes.
there by the basketball, but I didn't know if they face down that way.
There's some behind on the boys' side, and there's some out in front of the ladies there on the telephone pole, and that takes care of towards upper pavilion too. Now it gets out of focus after it gets up so high, but the restroom situation, the cameras don't really do us much good, because unless a parent, you see it chewing on somebody's ear, grabbing them by the ear and pulling them out of the bathroom, we don't know what they do in there. I mean, I can't pull a kid in and assume that he did that,
Right.
you know, or an adult for that matter, because it could be adults, it might not even be kids, so. Yep.
Thanks, man.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
All right, takes us to safety. Chief.
You gentlemen should have gotten my report, calls for service for the last period, past 2 weeks, 63 calls for service. We still have several investigations going on that we are currently working. I'm meeting with Targeting Solutions tomorrow to scout areas for the traffic cameras. And continuing to revamp our policy and procedure. We started working on the COPS grant last week with the help of Kurt to get that process started so we could hire hopefully another 1 to 2 full-time officers. So other than that, that's pretty much where we're at with anything. Do you guys have anything for me?
I think Public Speak's got it.
I think so.
The state just passed the spending bill with the grants.
Yes.
They did that today.
Yes, so we should be looking, they should be opening the JAG grant for us, which is going to be, help us get some equipment, hopefully. They're telling me hopefully as early as the end of the month. So that would be a good thing for us. So hopefully we're keeping our eyes peeled for that. We'll be able to get some of that money as well. So.
And just on safety as well, we, Chief got an update. There is a build date for the new cruiser, which should be this month. And it'll be retrofitted in July, so hopefully we'll receive that new cruiser ready for service beginning of August. Any other questions for safety? Takes us to judicial.
We got ordinance 2025-16, an ordinance to appoint Robert Leon Dortch as a part-time police officer with the Village of East Canton Police Department to establish hourly rate of pay at $20 per hour. Be it ordained by the Council of the Village of East Canton, State of Ohio, Section 1, East Canton Village Council, Stark County, Ohio does hereby authorize and approve the appointment of Robert Leon Dortch as part-time officer with the Village of East Canton Police Department, effective upon his passing a drug test at his hourly rate of pay of $20 per hour. And with all the prerequisites of a part-time police department employee as set forth in the East Canton Village Employees Handbook and East Canton Police Department policies and procedures. The hiring shall be on a 1-year probationary period. Council does hereby further authorize the East Canton Village Fiscal Officer to do all things necessary to accomplish the purpose and intent of this ordinance. Section 2, the village fiscal officer is hereby authorized to draw warrants on the village treasury for payments from any of the respective appropriations and accounts for salaries or wages for persons employed by authority of and in accordance with law or ordinance. Be it further ordained, is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and any of its committees that result in such formal action were meetings open to the public in compliance with the law. Be it further ordained, this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, safety, convenience, and welfare of the Village of East Canton, and shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and at the earliest date allowable by law. So,
Second.
Is he local, this gentleman?
He is, I believe he lives in Akron. I'll have to double check. So.
Does he work at like full-time?
He is
job?
so actually, kind of an interesting story. He's been a safety security at the federal courthouse for the past several years. And he's a bit older, like, he's a little bit older than I am. And he wanted to go back through the police academy. So he went through, and this is his first commission. So.
Standing motion, roll call, Collins.
Yeah.
Baloo.
Yay.
Contos.
yay.
Dan.
Yes.
Amstutz.
Yay.
Buxton.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Roll call, Collins.
Yay.
Baloo.
Yay.
Contos.
Yay.
Dan.
Yes.
Amstutz. Buxton.
Third and final reading of ordinance 2025-16 by title only, an ordinance to appoint Robert Leon Dortch as part-time police officer with the Village of East Canton Police Department and to establish hourly rate of pay at $20 per hour. So,
Second.
Roll call, Collins.
Yay.
Baloo.
Yay.
Contos.
yay.
Dan.
Yes.
Amstutz. Buxton.
Yay.
Anything else for judicial?
Nothing to make.
Councilman Collins. Anything for grants for Chad?
Nothing tonight.
Council President Blue takes us to finance.
Finance, I'd like to make a motion to approve invoices, amount of $11,036.46, as presented by Fiscal Officer Geis.
Second.
You have that list of invoices I can look at real quick.
He said 26.
Is that right?
11,035.46.
Okay. All right, roll call, Collins.
Yeah.
Baloo.
Yeah.
Contos.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yes.
Amstutz. Buxton.
I would also like to make a motion to approve payroll in the amount of $16,910.06, as presented by Fiscal Officer Geis.
Second.
Roll call, Collins.
Yes.
Baloo.
Yeah.
Contos.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yes.
Amstutz. Buxton.
Okay.
Meeting packet, the current status of the appropriations report is attached. Any questions? All right, takes us to other. There was an email from Kimball Trash Service wanting to know if the village wanted to pick up the 1-year renewal option. So I believe that was built into our contract this last time. Bear with me, try to pull up the- Fred, do you remember the rate that they quoted? I'll pull it up.
I think it was like a 3% or 3.5%.
Right, which was
pretty minimal.
Yeah, which was lower than the annual that they had tied to the contract, I believe. I think they had a 5% tied to the contract, and this was a lower rate than that.
I think they've done pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely did better than their first crack at it.
Yeah,
And honestly, go price the trash.
yes.
Insanely expensive.
It's very reasonable, yeah, I agree.
With me and Mom.
I will need if the council wants to move forward, we need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to continue with the next year with the increase that they provided.
Second.
All right, roll call, Colin.
Yeah.
Baloo.
Yeah.
Contos.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yes.
Amstutz. Buxton.
Yeah. If it would please council, I would like to enter into an executive session pursuant to ORC 121.22G1, employment.
Mayor, I have one other thing for other. Week from Friday is our coffee with a cop at the Fold Center from 3 to 5. At the Fold Center, they are providing a room for us for no charge, coffee and water, and we have cookies donated from a resident. So
Very
I
nice.
hope maybe your neighborhood people can come and talk about what they're happy or unhappy with down there.
There'll be cookies and cannolis there.
So what's
Not this
the,
Friday, but next.
what's the date for that?
13th, Friday the
13th.
13th.
Friday the 13th.
Very
What
appropriate.
time was that, Sue?
3 to 5.
3.
So any of you that can make it, please do so. Come with bad swinging, right, Chief?
No, no bats. We got cannolis. Nobody should be mad over cannolis.
No bats, save the cannolis. right?
Exactly.
The council like to consider that.
Yes, I'll make a motion to enter into executive session.
All right, motion by Buxton, seconded by Amstutz.
Who would you like?
Myself, council, chief. I think that should be sufficient. All right, roll call. Collins.
Yeah.
Baloo.
Yeah.
Contos.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yes.
Amstutz. Buxton.
Yeah.
Does council expect any action afterwards?
I don't think so.
No.
You don't want to ask for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that,
No.
for those that came tonight, we do appreciate you coming in. I know sometimes the topics can get a little heated, but it's better to have those discussions. I think it's important to grow, so appreciate you all coming in. And you're more than welcome to stay until we're done at the outside, but the executive sessions have to be done.